Welcome back to the Current Electric High School Football State Championship Preview Show presented by Cannon and Dunphy. I am Mike McGivern. Thanks for joining us. We get you ready for the 10 a.m. kickoff as the Crusaders from Catholic Memorial take on the Tritons from Notre Dame for the Division III State Championship. The Tritons from Notre Dame have had a great year. 13-0 overall. They're the champions of the South Division of the Fox River Classic Conference, advanced to the finals following a 41-21 win over La Crosse Logan in the semifinals. They are coached by Michael Radar. Does a great job up there. And we are now joined by Michael Whitlow. He is a prep sports writer for the Journal-Sentinel. I read him every day on JS Online. Does a great job. Michael, how you been?
Good, Mike. Good to see you again.
Man, it's good to see you again. Thanks for your time. So Catholic Memorial, we talked about them a little bit yesterday, but this is a team where you and I have so much respect for that head coach over there. When you talk about the greatest high school football coaches in the state, certainly Bill Young is in that conversation. They're going to have their hands full with a really good Notre Dame team today.
Yeah, Mike. When you look at this Catholic Memorial team, they may be a D3 school, but they are practically a D1 program with the talent that they have. And they play that kind of schedule. I mean, they've opened the year with Franklin the last few years. They challenge themselves, and they have the talent to make runs like this on a frequent basis. We've seen it with them. Coach Young, as you said, one of the greatest coaches in the history of the state. And even he acknowledged in Sunday night, press availability that we're probably coming into this game as an underdog.
He did, and I think he's right. I have to be honest. We normally when we're talking about state championship games, don't always have a dog in the fight. I feel like we're in this area, and I know those guys at Catholic Memorial feel like we have a little bit of a dog in the fight on this one. I think Notre Dame. When you talk to people that watch a lot of high school football, I've had a number of people say they might be the best team in the state, bar none as far as divisions. I don't care. And they have had a great season, and I think they fully expect to come into Camp Randall and get a win. When you look at the history of Bill Young and the people at Catholic Memorial, they've had a tendency of keeping games like this close and then finding out how to sneak one out at the end.
Yeah, Mike. I mean, you look at it, this is the third time since 2015 these two have met in a state championship game. And I think both games were decided by 10 points or less. So obviously, this is probably going to be a back and forth defensive struggle. Whoever can make the big chunk plays is probably going to come out on top. Obviously, whoever takes care of the ball as well. When you look at these two teams, they both have elite talent. I mean, you look at Owen Strybig, big offensive tackle going to Notre Dame. Notre Dame also has another kid going to Notre Dame and James Flanagan. I mean, there is just talent all over the field. MJ Mitchell and Marvanius Butler Brown for Catholic Memorial. Kristen Collins was just named large school offensive player of the year, for Notre Dame. I mean, there is just talent all over this field. And honestly, it should be one of the better games of the entire weekend.
Be interesting to me because I don't know if Notre Dame has played teams with the kind of speed that Catholic Memorial has. Yeah, look, if Mitchell, if he's 100% healthy and he gets out of the pocket, man, he hits a seam, he's gone. And Brown's the same way, man. If he gets his hands on the ball and he's got space ahead of him, be careful because he can take it to the house. Notre Dame is big, strong. They're going to wear you down a little bit, and it's going to be really interesting to watch this chess match between these two coaching staffs.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at what Catholic Memorial likes to do, they want to be able to run the ball, but they kind of had a difficult time. MJ Mitchell is their leading rusher. That's not necessarily always the good thing. Obviously, it shows the athleticism that he has, but you'd like to be able to hand the ball off to like a Christian Collins for Notre Dame, being able to have a bell cow like that has over 300 carries and almost 2,700 yards after missing 2 games this year it's just such a reliable option this time of the year. And I think it gives Notre Dame an advantage to have such just a dominant option like that in the backfield.
Yeah, I think it does as well. And I looked at your predictions, and I'm gonna go against you on your prediction on this one. And this is strictly a homer pick. I'm just telling you. I'm hoping that Catholic Memorial gets to win up at state, and I think that what that does for Coach Young with all the things that he's been through here the last 8 or 9 months, I think it just kind of allows him to take a breath and say, listen, we did it, right? We did it. And I know that his family is so happy that they're still playing. I just think the world of those guys out there. But I understand the difficult part of trying to get a win up at Camp Randall. You know, the 2 times these guys have played in the state finals, Catholic Memorial won one year, Notre Dame won the other year, and so it's, best of 3. Let's find out who's gonna win this thing. Hey, when you watch a team like Catholic Memorial play, and you've seen them a couple of times, they have other options, right? They've got some receivers. They do have a running back who's had put up some decent yards, but they have other options. If they're going to double Brown, they've got a tight end who's pretty good, and they've got a couple of receivers on the other side that can make some big plays given the chance. And I'm wondering if that's the direction they're going to have to go to stay competitive today.
Yeah, Mike, I agree. When you look at a guy like Demais Lopez that had been a big play guy, he's had some big plays in the big games they played this, in recent years, especially against Franklin. He's got a couple of huge plays for them. I believe an all-conference player as well. I think the key, I know we keep coming back to MJ Mitchell, but I think it really does come down to giving him time to throw and him making plays outside the pocket, because when I looked at his numbers through the playoffs, he's had 11 total touchdowns in these 4 games in the playoffs. 5 of them have come in the fourth quarter alone. So if this is a close game, he's going to have to be the guy that kind of takes the game over.
Michael, I've got one more question and we'll cut you loose. Starting a football game at 10 a.m., and I talked to Matt Bergen, the athletic director. He said, we got to get the WIA to move us to 11, right? 11, 2, and 5 instead of 10, 1, and 4. Well, that's not happening this year. And they wouldn't give me any inside info, but I asked him, I know as a basketball coach, we used to get our kids out of class if we were playing in the state championship game at, let's say, 1 o'clock, and getting them some time on the court right at 1 o'clock. And they said, no, we're more student athletes. And then he kind of smirked a little bit. So I think they've done some things this week to get their kids, their bodies ready to play at 10 a.m.
Yeah, and I think that that come back to Coach Young and his staff too, because they've been here, done this. Granted, it's a whole different group, but this coaching staff has been through this. They've won state championships. They know the protocol. They know how this works. Whether it's Division 3, Division 4, having that kind of experience could, potentially play a factor. No disrespect to Coach Rader, of course, at Notre Dame. He's a former Badger himself, so he's going to be hungry for a win in Camp Randall as well. So it should be an awesome game. I'm not really looking forward to the early drive to Madison, but I'm very much looking forward to this game.
Well, at least you don't have to get up early and go hit people. Michael, thank you so much. We're going to have you rejoin us when we get to the Division 1 game. On the other side of the break, we'll talk Division 2 matchup between the Slinger Owls and the Rice Lake Warriors. This is the Kern Electric High School Football State Championship Preview Show presented by Cannon and Duffy, only on My 24.